Welcome back to the Bible Reader. If this is your first time here, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Make sure to share because God's Word is important. Today we're going to be looking at the character of Moses, and we're just going to learn about him. Let's just get into it. Thank you for watching. Moses was born around 1393 BCE to Levites, but was hidden for 3 months due to the Pharaoh ordering the execution of the baby boys. When the 3 months was up, his mother hid him in a basket of reeds that was covered with tar and sent him down the edge of the Nile River. The baby's sister Miriam followed the basket to see what would happen to him. When the daughter of the king was taking a bath on the river, she saw the basket and took the baby as her own. Miriam asked the princess if she would like someone to nurse the baby, and she said yes. Miriam took the baby to his own mother, and she nursed him for the princess. She was also paid. When the child grew older, the mother sent him back to the princess, and she named him Moses, because she pulled him out of the river. Moses grew up in the Pharaoh's own household, and one day, when he was visiting his own people, he saw an Egyptian beating an Israelite. He felt sorry for the Israelite, so he killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand. When the king found out about it, he wanted to kill Moses, so he ran away to live in the land of Midian. While in Midian, Moses met his wife Zipporah, daughter of Jethro, because he defended Zipporah and her friends from shepherds who were trying to chase them away from a well. Later, Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, because he was a stranger in the land. While Moses was taking care of Jethro's flocks, he took them to Sinai, the mountain of the Lord. While on the mountain, he saw a bush on fire, and although it was on fire, it didn't burn up. The Lord called to Moses from the bush and gave him instructions to bring the Israelites out of captivity. And the Lord also gave Moses 3 proofs so that the Israelites would believe him. The first being turning a stick into a snake. The second was making Moses' hand white with a skin disease after putting his hand into his coat, and making it healthy again after taking it out. And the third proof being turning water into blood after throwing it on the ground. Moses pleaded with the Lord to send someone else, so the Lord provided Moses with his brother Aaron, who was an excellent public speaker. After the burning bush, Moses took his family and went back to Egypt with Aaron. Moses did the things that the Lord told him to do, but the king was stubborn and made the Israelites work much harder than before, and made them gather their own straw to make the same amount of bricks. Moses complained to God, but the Lord told him to stay faithful and to go back to the king. The king was still very stubborn, so through Moses, the Lord sent miracles to Egypt, first turning the Nile into blood, then he sent frogs, then gnats, then flies, then a disease on the farm animals, then boils on the Egyptians, then hail, then locusts, then darkness, then the final and worst miracle, the death of all the firstborns in the houses without the protection of the lamb's blood. After the last miracle, the king allowed the Israelites to leave during the night with all their flocks and herds, and also with gifts from Egypt due to their fear of the Lord. While leaving, the Lord gave Moses rules for Passover and the law of the firstborn. God led the Israelites by a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire during the night. While they were being led away, the Lord made the king's heart stubborn again, and the king chased the Israelites and met them at the Red Sea. Moses trusted the Lord and held his walking stick above the sea, and the sea split in half so the Israelites could cross on dry land, and the king's army continued to follow them. When all the Israelites had crossed, Moses held his stick over the sea again, and the sea fell on the Egyptian army. Not one survived. After the sea closed, Moses sang a song to the Lord. When Moses was leading the Israelites through the desert, they began to complain about water, and when they found a pool, it was bitter. So the Lord gave Moses a tree to throw into the water to make it pure. When Moses threw the tree into the water, it became pure, and the people drank. Later, the Israelites demanded food, so the Lord sent down food from heaven for them to eat. If they saved any for the day after, excluding the Sabbath, it became infested with worms. Later, the people begged Moses for water again, so the Lord allowed Moses to hit a rock, and water came out of it. The Lord led the Israelites into a battle with the Amalekites. If Moses kept his arms up, then they would win, but if he put his arms down, then they would lose. Moses kept his arms up with the help of Aaron and Hur. Moses' father-in-law Jethro visited him after the battle. 3 months after the Israelites left Egypt, they arrived at Sinai, the mountain of the Lord. The Lord led Moses up the mountain and gave him the 10 Commandments and other laws. Later, Moses went up to Mount Sinai again and received the tablets, and the Ark of the Covenant was built, along with the table, the lampstand, and the holy tent. When the people saw that Moses was up on the mountain for a long time, they took the gold from Egypt and made a golden calf. After the calf was built, Moses came down and broke the first tablets. After breaking the tablets, the people who had made and worshipped the golden calf were punished, and Moses asked to see God's glory, and the Lord replied. Moses went back up the mountain, and 2 more tablets were given to him. When he came down, his face was shining with the glory of the Lord, and more rules were given to the Israelites, as shown in the book of Leviticus. Because the people disobeyed the Lord, they were sent to wander in the desert. While wandering, Moses himself disobeyed the Lord because he did not honor the Lord in front of the people by hitting a rock twice for water. So he was not allowed to go into the promised land. When the Israelites reached the land, Moses sent spies to scout it out. The spies returned, and the majority refused to enter because of the people who were living there. Moses went up to Mount Nebo, sang a song for all of Israel to hear, blessed the people, then he died, after seeing the land which he can never enter.